Good morning, everybody.
Morning, Mr. Dan.
Thanks for your attendance to this Teviot Valley Community Board meeting, 31 July already. So I've got no apologies that I'm aware of. And oh, the minute.
Yeah, we don't.
Okay. And we've got two speakers in the public forum this morning. Carolyn England and Graham Ray. So, Carolyn, would you like to come and join us at the table? And
So I'm Carolyn England from Concrete. I'm here representing Central Otago Health Incorporated. So that society is the community representation entity, and we have people from each ward, including Wanaka, Alexandra, and well, we don't have Cromwell. I'll get to that. So we are not a governance group. We are a society. We appoint the directors. I'll get back to that. We have a board of directors who run the hospital, or more correctly, the CE runs the hospital. Right, so I was here back in March, you probably recall. At that stage, we had decided to opt out of participating alongside the local body elections coming up. So what we were looking to do was find community representatives. So I'm pleased to say that we've achieved everything we needed to do. We've got a new constitution. We have representatives in Alexandra, Roxburgh and Wanaka. We do not have anyone in Cromwell. You could, if anyone knows of anyone in Cromwell with a remote interest in health, time consuming trying to find someone and bringing people in. I have no confidence in advocating for someone as well, but we'll keep trying. But if everyone's aware that we have a gap in Cromwell, good. Now, when I was last here, I totally failed to communicate how Dunstan is set up as a hospital. I now wonder if that's relevant. If the only message that everyone understands is that Dunstan Hospital is a community hospital, that would be really good. So I've been in discussions with Sarah about the incorrect minutes from when I was here in March. I don't want them to stand because it is not fair on our existing directors to say that we have trouble finding directors. That's not correct. We have never had trouble finding directors, and the calibre of people that apply is very, very high. That's always hard to choose. So, and I'd quite like to hear from you, what other key messages, or do you think just totally focusing on messaging from our group in Dunstan that we're a community hospital is the only thing we should concentrate on, and how should we do that? I'd like to hear your feedback.
What actual message do you want to enforce? I mean, most people are aware it is a community hospital. So what do you want from your group to you want a specific message to the public?
Yes, if you want these to people, that a lot of people just assume Health NZ do everything here. But as I said last time, Health New Zealand, or the Crown, what do you want to call it, have not employed anyone in health for 26 years. And that sounds odd to people, doesn't it? Everyone in health is paid by private medical centres, or they're paid by the governing body of Dunstan Hospital. There's some small exceptions. Charlotte Jean, they're paid by F15, and the mental health unit at Dunstan are health and centre, but that's probably cheaper.
I think last time you had talk about maybe putting out a flyer or an attachment to the model, just as a sort of bit of an education piece, or
This is what we struggle with. A lot of people have moved here within 20, 25 years, and they just think, like they really start to convey the message.
so why do you want them to know that message? What I'm trying to, so why do you want them to know that Dunstan is separated from government?
Can I throw that back to you? Is it important? Should we forget about that?
No, I don't
It's
know, because it is important, but why? Because you can't get the message.
This is that reason people just assume it's health and NZ funded, and it's not. So it's important that people know it's not, and it's a community hospital.
And do you want
And
them,
then they would take more ownership of it,
Yeah, they wouldn't.
and you probably wouldn't have bursary trying to find people who want to put their name for it.
It's Cromwell problem. Well, I won't call them a problem because they're under there.
Yeah,
It's just a big gap there because they don't understand. The common responses we get is there's no ED, there's not enough services, there's not enough. Well, how do you get that next level? Yeah, how do you get buy-in from everybody saying, yeah, well, at least people are aware. So we've got a great CE, she's really good at speaking to groups, and she does a lot of that, but there's only one Hayley.
Yeah,
so who's your primary?
and you can share,
The other,
because he supports.
there is a ton of things we can do, but we're all volunteers, and we've got a stack of other stuff on our website this year.
So what's your primary source of funding, sorry?
Okay, so Health NZ have a service contract. with that
So
stuff.
it's that.
So we charge the operations rental for all the stuff inside the hospital.
Yeah.
Owned by the community.
Yeah.
So, that pays our secretary. And our 50 on meetings there.
The truth is, most people don't think about a hospital until they end up in one.
That's my point. Does that matter?
I think it matters.
Yeah.
so Caroline, can I just ask one question? What is it you want from the community? How do you want them to respond? We're out of time, but I just was
No, It's
closing.
5 minutes gone already.
Yeah,
Sure.
because
What's
I
the
think,
best, well, you're the community board members. What do you think the best way is messaging? You're always messaging survey or feedback, long-term planning, something like
Best way-
well, we usually have subjects that people want feedback on.
yeah.
Is it, I mean, from what I'm hearing, you want recognition from the community for your services?
No, there's no point doing that.
No?
We just would like people to understand it's a community.
Okay, so you
That's the message. Do you agree with
message
that?
rather than a question a response.
Well, do you agree it's a good sole message to stick with?
But when you've got the purpose of that message is to, get people involved on boards and committees and like actively involved in the hospital.
We'll never have enough money to do what we want. So we really appreciate the big donors like Sam Neil gave 30 grand for different things. And if people don't even know that it's not Health NZ, they wouldn't even think to donate with me, or they wouldn't think to get behind a fundraiser or anything with it.
That's the issue, the people just assume it's a Health NZ hospital and take it for granted and don't realize all the support from the community that's required to keep it operational.
Yeah.
You're trying to generate awareness around that.
Yeah. I don't want to be alarmist and go back 26 years and say that they're nearly closed down.
Yeah.
That's not where we're now at now.
You could have flyers in doctor's surgeries, because that's kind of where people are going that might need to go to a hospital.
Yeah.
And you could have a little flyer about what you do, and you could have like a QR code that you could scan that could take you to a donation page where you could leave a donation.
Yeah.
It's also a good thing to put at lawyers' offices, because when people are writing their wills, they might want to donate to the Dunstan Hospital in their will. So giving that information to lawyers could be a good thing.
Yeah. We're about to get a fantastic new website
Yeah.
So taking people driving traffic would be really good.
Yeah, and then if you had a way of taking money online, that was easy, that people could scan and pay and give a donation, or once a year you could ask for donations in the news or,
Do a drive.
on the central app or something, you could do like a yearly donation drive. Because people probably don't think to donate if they don't get asked either,
No.
like it's great that Sam did, but he used the hospital. That's probably why he then wanted to give back, because it was relevant to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
So March minutes are a problem.
the March minutes.
They had been approved by the board and
Um,
there was nothing incorrect in it. And we've all referred them to the recording, which is on the website.
do they have to stand?
That's
What it shows me is everyone in the room didn't understand that the word governance was totally inappropriate for my group. And I can't let this phrase stand that we find it difficult to attract governance professionals. That's not true of our directors.
Well, that was being put across.
Governance directors, boards are not our bag. We don't do any of that. There's a board of directors that operate the hospital in Boise, and they do all that over there. We're never governance.
I think we can find it.
There has to be a clear separation.
Okay,
This is what that will have to liaise with.
okay. So did you hear that? Carol?
As mentioned, I will work with you.
Yeah.
So the board confirming the minutes for today. Just to make
Yeah, if we do it like that, say, well, yeah, that was my messaging today, and that Mark was interviewed. Thank you. And can I just add, Sarah, you've been really, really helpful trying to get this right. And I was happy with the wording, but obviously there's processes. Yeah, but I'm not criticising you. It's just everyone in the room obviously had no idea. So it wasn't clear.
Thank you. Right,
Good morning. Just before we start, I'd say what town I was going, but I have no idea any of it. I know how it works, and I think 99% of the community that do the same. That's the problem. Sarah's told me I'm not allowed to go on about the same things I went on the last meeting with Tina and all that, so it's similar, but it's not quite that. I'm speaking on the same thing as about water, and I was looking on the website, my memory's website actually, about the Ministry of Internal Affairs, and they run all our governance for water, and who knows how much money they spend on it. There's got to be extraordinary. And then the regional council have also a water control body that looks after monitoring the water on the orchards and a whole lot of draft for things about water, and I don't know how much money we spend on that. Then the district council spend a heap of money on our water supplies. I have no idea how much of that is, but all the stuff add up to a lot of millions and millions and tens of millions of dollars. Now we want to create another water board to look after water. Another water board, and I feel they're going to set up a council, and it's going to be just like another regional council. They're going to levy us, apparently it's not going through rates, this is what I understand. They're going to levy us for everybody, because it's the only way they can haul in the rural New Zealand. They can't make us pay for the town water because we don't use it. And so we're going to have this regional council, and they're going to be only responsible to council. Ratepayers are not going to be able to have any, other than what Sally, have any influence into it at all. So it's under the control of mainly the CEO. The whole thing comes under the control of the council itself. And I've said it before, avoiding the ratepayer, but we're not going to go about that one. And the stupid thing about it is that I get all my drinking water off my own property. I don't get water from anywhere else. They get it all off my own property, and it's council approved. They got the sticker for it. And the real stupid thing is, you can go and buy it in the shops. You can buy it anywhere, buy water. So why is these millions upon millions of dollars being spent on water? It's just ridiculous. It's getting to the point where we just see it disappearing, and the only people who are paying for it is the ratepayer. And it's a free waters thing, I know. And, a lot of people were going on about what we're going to end up doing is paying for things like Queenstown sewage problem. There's got to do another sewer. And so districtisation is one of the things you brought in. So the whole district's going to end up paying for something like Queenstown and the major centres and all the people in the country. We have absolutely nothing to do with it. Absolutely. But we're going to be paying through the nose. It's just another rate we're going to be paying. And it's cost something like $14 million just to set it up. Really, $14 million. Then you'd be able to get the most expensive consultants in New Zealand and a lot of them to run it. So once they set it up, it's going to cost a fortune to run. Well, my main way I bought here is that I'm not paying. I refuse to enter into a contract with whoever this water board is. Once you pay once, you've entered into a contract and they will start coming down on you about the quality of water in the rural areas as well. And I'm pretty sure they've been meeting. They're already meted in the rural areas. So if the orchardings, they're all meted through the regional council. And I think it's going to come back to us as individual users. We're going to be meted as well in the long run, and then they can charge us. And then, this is just my surmising, like in North Shore and Auckland, they're also paying a wastewater charge for their sewage. And it's calculated on how much water they actually use. And so it'll come in here as well. We'll pay to put our waste to land. And I think we can all see this is coming. It's going to end up like the RMA. The RMA, I was talking to John Lane about it, and he said it's a good document. It's a great document. The worst part about the RMA is there's people involved. And the people are really the worst ones are our lawyers. And once they get a hold of this, they're going to make so many rules and paper. It's going to be like this, but if anybody wants to say anything against it, you just bury yourself in it. You'll never find the end of it. And they'll just, I'm not going to say bullshit because it's not, but we just going to lose sight of it. So, but basically I come along and say, I'm not paying it. As long as my butt towards the ground, you can take me to jail, you can send me wherever to a penal colony. I'm not paying it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Graham.
Is there any food left over from yesterday? I'm down to a shit load of it. Oh, sorry about my language.
No,
Got room for that?
can't
Oh, okay. It's not.
comment on that.
So we're not going to another one
Thanks,
today.
Graham.
Did you know, Graham, that like our council has signed a memorandum of understanding with the Otago Regional Council? Now, I have asked both this council and the Otago Regional Council for a copy of that memorandum of understanding. We don't know what's in it, and when you see what happened with the Three Waters memorandum of understanding signed between Ngāi Mahuta and Ngāi Mahuta, was the instruction for councils to stand down and to let Three Waters go ahead. Basically, that's paraphrasing. So we have no idea. But with these memorandums of understanding and the disaster that is Gore and the disaster that is Balclutha, we're starting to regionalise. So we will lose our voice and we will lose our wonderful water supply, and we will end up having to pay for it.
Yes.
Because that's
Thanks, Jill.
To your first point, central government reform of the RMA is addressing some of the duplication between councils on water, I believe.
Yes.
And the new CCO is just a water delivery model. It's or a service. It's not actually, correct me if I'm wrong, involved in planning or policing water quality.
That's right, and QLDC are not part of the option around joint water
I
service.
realise that, but
And neither
there's
is
still a memorandum of understanding has been signed with,
That's under the regional deal construct,
You know,
which is different.
yeah, it's beginning of regionalisation.
So the CCO as well, the new CCO, if it gets stood up, won't be policing your or at home.
Yeah.
Oh, that's at the moment.
That's
Yeah,
it.
that's not their remit.
All righty, thank you, guys.
Okay, thanks for listening.
Moving on, thanks, Graham.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the confirmation of the minutes of the previous meeting. I take the minutes as being read. I'll move that they be accepted. Can I have a second, please?
Yep, I'll second.
In favour, say aye. Those against say nay. Carried. Declarations of interest. As per usual, we've got to look at what's on our agenda for today. And if you feel you have a conflict of interest, please let us know now.
I'm quite involved in this, Sports Recreation Hub.
Yeah.
So, if there's any voting to be done, I won't be voting, I guess.
Was it?
I will make a note that we will not take, discussion or vote on the item.
Thank you, Mark. Yeah, we'll go to that. On to item 25.4.2, the proposed middle school sports and recreation plan.
Thank you. So you'll recall this proposal came before the board in March. And since then, the steering group have received some funding towards the project. And so they're seeking permission to commence the project essentially in two phases. One would be the complete proposal that everything they had in the attachments. If they can get all the money through their third party funders, and if they can only get the funding for the funding they've got at the moment, they would like to do sort of a phase two, which would be essentially the new courts and the pump track. So this report is seeking board support for this with a recommendation that council approve that phase, given that council is owner of the land. Answer any questions on that.
I might just add to that as well, is that the steering group is hoping to start this project this year. And as with the timing of their funding coming from other funders, they would like to be able to start that process with council as early as possible. So they've planned to spend the money that they have so far to go through the process to be approved by council, and if they get the full amount by the time they hope to start, that they would commence with the full amount. So the idea of this is just keep moving through, hopefully it's good.
So this is just from people I've been talking to, or spoken to me actually in the community. There's a lot of really unhappy people with the fact that $40,000 of the money actually came from putting Teviot in school to keep it going, and they're not happy about lump sum of that being spent on something that a lot of people in the town are not overly thrilled with, and they felt that they didn't get a fair representation at the meeting, public meeting that was held. So this is just my feedback on living. The neighbours with, you know, the people that are going to be next door to this part is they're worried about the noise, especially the pickleball. And then when you look at what's happening through councils at New Zealand, they all seem to be getting money for the same thing, pump tracks, pickleball, you know. And the big question is how much is this going to be costing? How much is it going to be used? And should we be better off just redoing the tennis courts and keeping it as a really nice little quaint reserve in a small town New Zealand, rather than having to go for the latest shiny thing, which is, you know, every park stop it's going to have a pump track and a pickleball. So there's that sameness of
Council.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, the board's already approved that.
you know, I'm just getting feedback from what I've been, you know, people that I've been talking to or been talking to, you know.
And what we're being asked to do today is to look at an option for it to be staged. Is that, am I correct?
Phased approach, yeah.
So
just to add to that, just given it's on council land, this report then goes to council.
Yeah.
For them to give the final tick, yes.
So concerns from the community I mean, while we can listen to them, we can't actually do anything about them.
No, but I'm just, I said that I put it forward at the next community board, which is what I've done.
We did
I
address
was asked to
it,
do it.
we did address it at the last meeting, and the expectation was if you live next to a recreation reserve, it's gonna get used.
And it's also boundaries issues that need to be sorted.
But you're raising issues that we've all been.
That's true,
made
but
aware of.
I have been asked, to bring this forward, and that's what I've done.
So I'm just responding to
Yeah.
you.
And the boundary issue will be sorted out.
Yeah,
Mhm.
there is due process still.
Yeah. I was asked, so.
So we'll back out for all that. So we've been asked to, group the regional development in line with proposals put forward by the Miller's Flat Recreational Reserve Steering Group. Have we got any questions about the phased approach? Have we got, is there anything?
Yeah, is there a guarantee that by this time next year, the tennis courts will be up and running for the tournament that takes place on the weekend, this coming weekend in a year's time? Given it's the largest primary school sports event in Central Target. So having a construction or reports out of action because of a delayed construction project would be.
I don't know how appropriate this is it? You want Mark to speak as well?
Right, I think that, as David said, the intention is to do this over summer, so.
Yeah.
Yes. Do the construction.
And if you had to do a stage approach because you don't get all the money, then you would start
Well,
obviously
yes.
with the tennis court.
Yeah.
So that would be your first thing, and then you'd miss out on, let's just say, the pickleball or the pump track or whatever, but does the pickleball go on the tennis court anyway? So, yeah, so you get that anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we can touch up that part with the agreement with the steering group of how that stays there, project.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get, is the tennis court's probably the priority.
Yeah.
So with the money that you've got now, guaranteed you can afford to do the tennis courts. So, yeah, the steering group will
That's
do the
right.
tennis courts.
And then
Yeah.
potentially contract and stuff like
Yeah,
the contracts on that.
yeah.
So you're all happy then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so items A, B, C and D. I move that we follow those recommendations.
Yeah, second that.
Can I have a second, please? Okay. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against say no. Carry. Cool. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Of external stakeholders to the Roxburgh Entertainment Centre rebuild program steering group. You can, Tara.
I'll take the report as read. And the recommendation is for the board to approve the external stakeholders to the steering group for the Roxburgh Entertainment Centre. And I believe the chair will have those names to take.
I might just get Gareth to add a little bit on, I guess, how this project would work with interested parties in the community.
Yeah,
thank you.
With the steering group.
So, just for sure, this steering group is the conduit of information that's going to be representing the community, and all stakeholders, well, the biggest stakeholders will be engaged with regards to what the design and desires for this community are moving forward in this project. So we will instruct whoever we get for professional services. We make sure that this does it around through the stakeholders and all inputs are ready. And a good message to come back through to me.
Yeah, so to break that down further, let's talk about Reset Group, who are obviously a very interested party in this. They would be people who, that group would be directly involved with your steering group and the design people that we have. to understand everything that they would want in this building, as well as all of the other groups who would want to use this building. We'd have really sort of focused sessions and workshops with them. All of that information will come into the steering group to understand how it could all work together. Does that sort of make sense?
And also, when we did the Cromwell Memorial Hall, we had a drop-in session, and I would suggest we do exactly the same thing. So when we get sort of into concept designs, we have a drop-in session where the whole community can come around and have a look, and it'll display materials that are proposed to be used and the outlooks. The last set of architects used virtual reality goggles, and you can basically have a good look around inside the hall as well. So it's quite, yeah.
It's going to be quite important that the people on the project steering group, and it's not just those from, but everyone, are able to make decisions on behalf of the community using the feedback that they have obtained. I mean, I think that's a critical part of this, so people understand that when the project steering committee makes decisions, it's using the information brought from the community, and that's facilitated by the process you just outlined.
Yeah.
So the board has received over the last 6 weeks 11 people have put their names forward in response to the expressions of interest from the community of people to participate in the project steering committee. We deliberated on this, firstly talking about our what we think the skill set might need to be, and we just described basically what that is. And out of the 11 names, we're comfortable with 4 people that we believe have got the skill set that will benefit the community. Of those, there's Sally Smith, Sarah Moore, Alistair Monteith, and David Wedderall. If you could take those names forward to council for it, I think you have their bio already.
Yeah, we could just have that resolution, the first 4 names, that would be great.
So will you put that into a resolution?
And choosing a board representative as well.
Yeah, have you guys discussed that? We don't have to do it today if you don't want.
We've agreed that Curtis was going to do
Yep. Cool. So we've got Curtis in there.
domain man.
Yep.
And I believe that our council has nominated that Martin McPherson was the representative.
Cool.
So there you have it. You can start work tomorrow.
Yeah, ready.
So I'll just, do I need to?
Yeah, I've got it on the board on this.
Right, so recommendations, A, B, C, D. I move that we follow those recommendations. Can I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mark. All those in favour say aye. Those against say no. Carry.
Thanks, everyone.
Sarah, yeah, Alice, the spelling's an A.
I think it is. I'll drink it.
Donna, we've got you talking to us about the Teviot financial report for the period ending 31 March and the interim financial report for 30 June 25. Oh, Paul's here too.
here as well. Yes, so I'll keep
Hopefully it's there, but
the March speech a little bit short, and then we'll focus on the June once we get there for most of the questions. That's so it's there. So I take the report as being read. So the financial report for the 31st of March 2025 had an unfavourable variance of 214,000 against the revised budget, with revenue having a favourable variance of 117,000, which continues to be driven by surpluses in the internal interest revenue and use of fees and other. Expenditure has an unfavourable variance of 231,000. And this has been driven from the remedial work that's been carried out at the Roxburgh Entertainment Centre site to the farm. Capital expenditure had a favourable variance of 111,000, with 57% of the total revised budget being spent, with the main favourable variance there being the projected cost for the remainder of the original Roxburgh Entertainment Centre project that was progressing for students.
Of 17, 170, 117 is the voting maximum as the chosen building.
So for the report,
111, sorry, no income, I mean. Yeah,
17.
yeah, I said 170.
Sorry.
That's right, I was just checking. I'd like to go with 170.
Yeah, sorry. Feel like going for the problem. I showed specifically. It's been done. Yes, it's 17. Yeah.
any questions, Mark?
No, I'm happy.
So that unfavourable variance on the clean-up will be, how does that get addressed when the insurance payout?
So depending on the outcome, which I believe it's still under review, there will be funds available for that demolition. May not cover all of that, as I believe there will be a portion that we will lose out of that. Is the right words?
You're talking about the asbestos building.
No, but yeah. I have completely lost it. And so when you
The excess.
So the excess. Thank you. There will be an excess that will need to be paid out. Completely, I don't think to do too many insurance claims. But there will be a loss in the excess of that as well. So we'll go through to the reserve and continue to sit there as a deficit, which we'll have to work through currently.
Yes.
Okay, so everyone, you got any questions, Sam?
So that's the 31st of March, so you covering to the June as well?
Yeah, we just need they're separate papers, so I just need to sign them all. And all we need to do is that the report be received. And I'll move that we receive that.
Oh, yes, sorry, I have a question. In the long-term plan for the coming year, there's $36,000 for a Teviot Valley public toilet.
Yeah, cool. So there's a couple of things in there, and it's sort of some maintenance costs of our toilets, as well as upgrading some houses, starting the systems just so you can see how to use it. Yeah, 36,000 would kind of cover all the rest of the cost of the reserve.
Thank you.
All good? I move that we receive that report. Want a second, please?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against say no. Carried. Right, Donna, again, June 30.
So again, I take this paper as being read. This is an interim financial report for the 30th of June 2025. What this means is the team is still preparing the end of the year financials. So there are still some final journals that may need to be done, which may slightly
change the outcome of this of what we see for you. Also, just to note that there is a difference between the March revised budgets and the June revised budgets. This is due to forecast 2, which changed the revised budgets that were approved by council in April. The main changes in the Teviot Valley financials incorporates the work carried out on the Roxbury Entertainment Centre and the expected flow of insurance funding to pay for that cost as well. So at this stage, there is an overall unfavourable operating variance of 93,000 against the revised budget, with a deficit of $46,000 compared with the surplus that was expected in the annual plan 24-25 of $42,000. This is predominantly due to revenue coming through an unfavourable variance of $143,000. The revised budget was adjusted to include expected income from the insurance claim for the Roxbury Entertainment Centre. This is still being worked through, and that is why there is that variance. It's not receiving those fees and charges from your community. It is mainly due to that reason. So when we are more sure that we'll follow through as well. Expenditure has a favourable variance of $50,000. This is being driven from depreciation, internal interest expense, other costs, staff and contracts. With building repairs and maintenance, cost allocations being slightly higher than budget. So as part of our end of year final journals, which are still being prepared, they'll unpack the final numbers for the depreciation, the staff costs and also the cost allocations. Then maybe a couple of things from during contracts, but those are the main ones that will be unpacked. You would have also noticed that the unfavourable variance in the contractors and the building repairs and maintenance has been adjusted for in the June revised budgets compared to the March revised budgets. And it's just to reflect that additional cost come through from the Roxbury Entertainment Centre. So capital expenditure has a favourable variance of 118,000, with 94% of the total revised budget being spent. So the Parks and Reserves projects have been completed, including the picnic table at Lions Park and the centre repairs being completed. The property now has a favourable variance of $5,000 as we have forecasted down the capital project of the Roxbury Entertainment Centre that was progressing before the fire. So it's coming, adjusted to what the actual cost was before that took place. So the reserve funds, we're still working through the end of financial year information, so we aren't able to give you an estimate as to where we would end up 30 June 2025. So the information provided in front of you still states that 30 June 2024 there's a closing balance of $1 million in surplus. And it's estimated to finish the financial year with a surplus of $766,000. This is taking into account carry forward project from the previous years and also the annual management movements. As a result of the fire at the Roxbury Entertainment Centre, this forecast will change, and so therefore the Roxbury Entertainment Centre is now projected to conclude the financial year with a deficit of $90,000. So when looking through the reserve balances, we also need to take into consideration that we do need to look at the deficit balances that need to be addressed, especially within the Teviot Valley Recreation and Cultural Reserves, which are estimated to finish the financial year with an overall deficit of $176,000. We do have the ability to use the general reserve to settle your deficits.
I'll take some questions on these.
I just have a question about the reserves. What's the future plan for reserves for the given districtisation, or how's that going to work?
Okay,
the proposal that we're fleshing out at the moment, and we're kind of hamstrung a little bit because reserves can only be used for the purposes they were created for, because usually it follows a funding stream. So we set a targeted rate for a particular activity. That targeted rate flows into reserves as the activity is undertaken. The balance in that reserve, if it's a surplus or a deficit, if it's a deficit, it's being used by the activity for that purpose. If it's in surplus, then it can only be used for that activity. So for argument's sake, if you looked at, let's take Miller's Flat Recreation Reserve Committee, which we're estimating to end at $81,000 in surplus, that can only be used for that purpose. So the council, the paper that we're proposing to take to the council is that reserves in each of the community board spaces would be used in the community board areas for projects that would now be districtised, for argument's sake. So there would be a rates fund coming in from a district level that would start creating a reserve to do district work. If work came in for the Miller's Flat Recreation Reserve, then the first port of call for any monies would come out of that reserve. The reason we say that is otherwise you would end up with what we're calling stranded reserves, which means they will sit there forever not being able to be used because the purpose of them and the funding of them has changed. So you can't take that reserve and use it in Cromwell, for argument's sake. So all community boards will have situations like that where they could end up potentially with stranded reserves if we don't put in place a mechanism where the reserves are called on as the first port of call, and then district tops it up once the reserve is used. The other thing about that USP, and all community boards have them, there are deficit balances that are in this reserve list. They won't be funded again in the same way as they were in the past, which is targeted rate based on the ward for specific purposes. And as Donna alluded, the general revenue reserve of just over $500,000, we would be proposing that be used to offset a lot of these deficit reserves. The general reserve is probably the only one that you can apply across the reserve suite, if you like, because it wasn't really collected for the specific purposes, collected for general purposes. So the object is that we would present a paper to both the community boards, so all community boards and the council, and go through a kind of slideshow showing what the proposal is. And we would be looking that the general reserve would be used initially to tidy up any of the deficit reserves, and any of the other surpluses that are targeted surpluses would be used for the specific purposes within the ward that they were originally intended for as the first cab off the rank, and then you would use district funds to top up. So if you were doing work down at the King George Park, you would use your reserve funds in that space, or take the Roxburgh Cemetery, for argument's sake. That's got $19,000. If you were going to do something in the Roxburgh Cemetery, that gives $50,000. You'd use the first 19 would be there, and then the district would top it up. That would then clean up the reserves. They wouldn't be stranded, and the district would then take over the funding through its rating system. Does that cover off what you're doing?
So just,
Yeah, thank you. That's good. Yes, understand.
so there's $19,000 in the cemetery reserve, but the cemetery is going back to the council, so the community doesn't have anything to do with it. But is that still community? Can community still use that? Or is the reserves going in the cemetery back to the council?
It was levied as a service charge, the Teviot Valley service charge, so it has to be used for those purposes. So the council can't come and take that money and say, well, we now need to upgrade our cemetery for A, so it has to be used for that purpose. Which it causes us some problems changing the way we do things, but they're not insurmountable. And I guess that things like the reserves contribution, for argument's sake, would remain as a reserve specifically for Teviot Valley. The hydro, although it's only $12, I mean, you probably didn't worry about that. That's a specific reserve, so that has to be used for those purposes. It's like where, not in that particular case, but some people may have donated to a library and said, this is the library fund and you can only use this for library books within Roxburgh. That's all you can use it for. So those things would continue. We would, as by way of example, we would be buying books for Roxburgh. They would be specifically for what's the Teviot. They can't be used anywhere else. So you've got those types of reserves. So it's going to take a little bit of juggling to tidy these up. Then we have to work out what happens if we end up with an overall deficit. How's that funded? Given that there are no more targeted rates based at ward level, how do they get cleaned up and zeroed out? So yeah, there's still a bit of work to do. We're hoping to have something that we can talk to the community boards about once we get more finalised numbers here, so we know where we're at. So we're hoping kind of next month, given that it's the last day of this month, so probably close to the end of August would be where we'd be looking at, and we'd like to get it done before the election, given that the previous council were the ones who drove districtisation. I think it's a little bit unfair to put that on the new council who may not have as much knowledge or know about it as this council and community.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. The other thing that I just wanted to put on record, because Sally has put us right today in the private session, but I just wanted to, because there'll be people online listening, people, including myself, were of the relating to the Roxburgh pool, people and people around Curtis himself. We thought that there was a loan that was taken from Teviot Valley Reserves for the pool. We understand there was a grant and that's happened. We understood there was a loan as well, but Sally has told us that there wasn't a loan. It was just a commitment to repay, and it didn't come out of community board reserves in the initial case.
It was a loan, but it didn't come from the community board. It came from it was loan funded within council.
Yeah,
the council internal.
Yeah, I think the use of the term loan is an unfortunate use.
Source of funds.
It was very much the term at the time.
Effectively, the community board gave to the swimming pool $500,000. One was a grant of 250,000 clear
from reserves,
yeah. And the other was from the same reserves, 250,000, with an expectation that the ratepayers of the Teviot would replenish the 250,000 over a period of time. And that's why there was a rate specifically for that. So effectively, I don't like the use of internal loans because they have connotations, but there was no loan between the council as CODC Inc. and the pool. What we were doing at the time was effectively saying we've used $250,000 out of our reserves, we want to top that back up.
Out of whose reserves? Community board reserves?
Came out of the community board reserves.
So,
And it's top ups with
General reserves.
Out of general, yeah, the
community board's general reserves.
Yes,
So it came out of Teviot Valley Community Board's general reserve.
And the object was that over time.
Yeah.
The community board rated for the repayment.
Yeah.
Well, when I say repayment.
Yeah.
The $25,000, is $25,000?
250.
250.
Yeah, no, but each year.
Yeah, 25 each
To
year.
go back into the reserve to replenish the 250,000 that came out of it. That was what the effect of this thing was. So there was no loans between obviously the pool and the community board. The pool got $500,000 effectively. The ratepayers were going to top up their reserve that they had used for $250,000 over time for rates.
So what's the go forward now with that $25,000 a year?
The $25,000 a year, I think, has been superseded by districtisation, given that the reserves that sit within community boards, I guess, they're not frozen as such, but they are, the district has taken over funding of all pools and all of those assets that were, and activities that were previously ward funded, community ward funded. So what that means is, from a community board perspective, ratepayers of the Teviot, that doesn't need to happen. And under districtisation, can't happen unless the council decide that it wants to deviate from that and effectively levy a differential in terms of rates on the Teviot ratepayers again to top up that reserve that you can only really use to clean up your deficit reserves, and if there's any money left after that, use it in a general purpose. So the expectation would be that you would be, the council would be picking up the costs through its district-wide rates, as opposed to the community board needing to rate for those things to rebuild those reserves up to do things that now the district-wide rate will cover. Does that make sense?
I understand the
You know,
numbers in your
But that,
explaining, yeah.
that's not I don't think that that's actually being talked about yet.
Because going forward as a sort of a legacy, we're saying that 250,000 came out of the board reserves
With the purpose of course, it's coming back in.
with the expectation that's coming back in. Now we're saying, well, hang on, that's changed. That money won't come back in. So let's say it came out of our general reserves of 511. The expectation was that would gradually get back up.
Yes,
build back up.
Yeah.
So what we're saying now is it's in question as to whether it will build back up or not. And obviously, as a community board member, we'd like to see it in there in due course, because it gives us more flexibility for things specific to this valley. Rather than having to go cap in hand to the council and say, can we have 250,000 for something? Because it gives us a better base to raise a request for some money. So we'd rather see the money come straight.
Do you have this issue within other wards for the same thing? So it's a big raise.
Of that type nature.
Yes.
I guess that's a conversation that the community board needs to be having with the council, given the council has said districtisation, this is what we're doing, and it's been in play now for 31 days effectively. That's how we set our long-term plan, struck our rates on that basis. I can't speak for the council, and I won't, but that's a conversation I think that needs to be had, because it really does, it kind of flies in the face of districtisation in its purest form. So I think that absolutely those conversations need to be had, but that's not.
So essentially it would be a one-off settling up as a result of districtisation. It's not an ongoing.
Well, I actually, if you think about it and take it a little bit further, there is a settling up process, but what Mark just talked about was if there's stuff that we want to do, we have the money to do it. that kind of does eat away at what districtisation is supposed to be providing. And that's why I'm saying that's a conversation that you need to have with the council as to whether they would or could entertain that type of thing, because last September the decision was made, we worked our way through it, we've struck the rates based on that. What we're talking about is actually a departure from that, and if you wanted to, unless you can get council to put money back, that's another conversation. But if you were going to want the reserve top back up, then that's as I say, that's a differential that from a rating perspective that we would need to talk about, consult on and put in place to rate the Teviot Valley ratepayers effectively to honour what was discussed pre-districtisation. I mean, decisions have been made since then that change the way you might look at those things. I think that's what I'm saying.
So that would be a day's discussion of itself.
Yeah.
Which maybe we,
It's not for now, yeah.
not for today, but,
But it's just the intention was that this community would pay $25,000 a year, drip feed, so to speak. And I guess, it's a question of whether we want to continue that and so the form, or whether it should be districtised top up.
as districtisation is rolled out and implemented and becomes business as usual, we'll learn the consequences of it.
Thanks,
I think.
explaining a complicated situation.
So, any more questions about Donna's report?
No.
Okay, I move that we receive that report. Do I have a second to that?
Yeah.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against say nay. Carried. So Mayor's report, there won't be one today. Chair's report, there's not much in one today. Gives me another way to month and thread. Got a report as such today, so I'll just pass on that.
Okay, yep, no worries. So I'll make up for that. I've got a few things that I need to update you on. So on the, I'm going to start with my community board report. On the 13th of June, I attended the Property Council Awards in Auckland, where the poll was a finalist in the tourism and leisure category, and we received a merit. On the same night in Queenstown, we also picked up the best in category for public architecture in the Southern Awards, and we will go to the national finals for that in November, I think, in Christchurch. So we've picked up actually 4 awards in the last 2 years, which is pretty cool. And this month, the committee received a letter from Joseph Mooney to congratulate us on the 4 awards that we've received in the past 2 years, and said competing with projects from major urban centres accomplishment, that this recognition was earned with a modest budget and an enormous commitment to community wellbeing makes the achievement all the more commendable. So it was really nice to receive that letter from him. And staying with the poll, on the 1st of July, we handed over the running of the poll to council. We put our last update in the bulletin and noted that the pool fees will remain the same as last year for pool users. Other notes on the pool, staff have spoken to students at the school, and there is some genuine interest in part-time lifeguard work by some of the senior students. And from what I can tell, there's also been some really good interest in staffing in general for the pool, and with quite high calibre people that are putting their names forward. So we'll see where that lands. River track signage, I have talked about this quite a bit in the past, but we've locked in our final plans for the signage that's going at King George Park, and so we will be getting that installed hopefully within the next month, and people will be able to go down to King George Park and they will be able to from there follow signage that will take them down to the river track or around Rovers Hill, and you'll be able to get to both of those tracks from King George Park, which makes it really easy to explain to people how to get to the tracks because they're quite hidden in the back streets, which makes it.
That footpath has been done up there.
No, that was, no, that's got nothing to do with that. So we are just about, we will be getting those in. I think Carl's actually been tasked with the job of installing the signage. My husband Carl, Raymond Gunn and Chris Buckley did some weed eating below the pool a couple of weekends ago. And the next step down there is we're going to do some weed spraying, and the Haiata Trust have donated us over $1,000 worth of native plants that are going to get planted down there. So we'll get some weed spraying done, and we've got to give that some time to die off before we can put the plants in. And we're putting down there, because it's down by the river, we're putting in things like flaxes and toys that are going to be able to withstand some flooding, which we know will happen from time to time. So we will probably be reaching out for some community input to help do some planting, but once we know when the weed spraying's done and then how long we need to leave it before we start planting, we can then come up with a date for a planting day. So making some progress there. On last Thursday, I had a meeting for the bike park with some stakeholders. So I don't know if any of you know Ashton Oliver, who used to live here, and he's just moved back here, and he's worked on a lot of bike parks all around our district, but also overseas. Like, he's got a very impressive CV actually in terms of what he's done. So he's just recently moved here. So I met with him, Ben from Sports Central, Hayden Smith, and Angus McNeish and his son Sam came to the meeting. And at the meeting, we asked if they could come up with a plan of where the tracks are actually going to go on Rovers Hill, because in the last 2 years we have been trying to get a plan together. Well, Ashton went away that night, and by the next morning he'd emailed me a plan of where the tracks are going. So that was pretty impressive, actually, as well as he had a health and safety plan done, and he drafted a letter for funding all overnight. So it's pretty impressive. There's actually quite a committed group there now. So I think we're going to see some action in terms of the bike park.
So there's still some really good kids in there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So so the parents are actually working in conjunction with the kids. So yeah, and I think Ashton's big thing is he wants to deliver some trails that are going to be fun and exciting for the kids, but not dangerous. So that's his kind of overall thing, is he wants to make sure that makes it fun, but that it's safe. So
they're going to formalise themselves into
I think so.
to go and get funding.
Yeah, so they will. So I'll carry on with that. So I think so we've got the $2,000 that they'll use to start with, and I think they're pretty keen. Ashton wants to build all the tracks by hand, so that's what they've done. So they will use probably a digger to do a bit of clearing and stuff, but that's how people like to build trails. And Kev Kelly's exactly the same, and it actually gets all the kids involved, and it's part of the process is to build the trail. So they want to buy some tools. They want, I think, the wheelbarrow. I mean, it's all pretty kind of minimal. Something else that was brought up at the meeting was that Hayden Smith has offered to put a shipping container there. He's got a spare container, because they discussed having something that they could put their wheelbarrows and tools and everything into. And then they also discussed being able to put up some shade cloth maybe off the side of the container, because it's going to be hot there in the summer, and maybe have a picnic table under the shade cloth. So I think moving something on site is probably something that's going to have to come to this board and be approved, but I'm just giving you the heads up that
it's going to be permanent.
Yeah, and maybe have signage on one side of it as well, right down where they're biking, so you wouldn't see it from anywhere on the road. It would be at the base of where their bike park is, down the bottom.
I'm just trying to imagine.
Is that just going to
So you go down to Denton's, so you go so you go to the end of the lane, and we've done up our track around to the left of the walkways going up Rovers Hill. if at that point at the Dentons, you kind of go right around the other side of Grovers Hill, so between Grovers Hill and the golf course.
Yeah.
And there's actually a four-wheel drive track along there already. And there, along there, I'd say maybe 200 or 300 metres.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
And so they want to, and also they wanted to come down everything, they want everything to feed off that side of Grovers Hill so that they stay away from the walking track on the other side. And it's also not as steep on that side as Grovers Hill, so it's better for them to form their tracks. They did also talk about wanting to maybe do some native planting around the bottom as well. They want to make it look good. They want other kids from other parts of the district to come to the bike park. So they do want to formalise it, I think. And so those were all the things that they discussed. Yeah.
Cool.
I think they're pretty committed, and I think they've also got the ability to do quite a bit for not much because of the people that they're using to do it. So I think, yeah, so I guess watch this space. There'll be, you know, probably there needs to be a report. They do want to put the container there, and it'll be something that the board has to consider. I also had a meeting, and you might have seen in your letterbox, you won't have marked, because we didn't deliver it to Miller's Flat, but I think you would have either, Curtis, a community resilience brochure that got delivered.
Is that sort like that? Is it a group on Alex? No.
No,
No.
we've got a group here in the Teviot. Yeah, and we put it in the bulletin about the group and that we would be delivering the brochure in the next couple of weeks, and we've delivered the brochure now, so everyone. And the reason we didn't deliver it to Miller's Flat is because they've done their own. And so you've already got your own group and your own brochure, but we did deliver down to Ettrick, and we did deliver, I think, as far as kind of Bridget's house over that side, so that people in Ettrick have got the choice whether they came to Roxburgh in an emergency or if they went to Miller's Flat in an emergency. So we've got that brochure, and we also we had a meeting with the fire guys as well, just to kind of introduce ourselves to each other. And I think the next meeting that we're going to do a tabletop exercise. Derek Shaw comes down from emergency management, and Alex and works with the group. So yeah, made a bit of progress there. Okay, so I'm now going to move on to my councillors report, and I was going to mention I've had a few meetings for a Takarawai audit, which is a performance improvement program for local government. So it was called Council Mark, but they've changed the name and it's called Takarawai now. So the goal is to provide councils with insights into their strengths and areas for growth, enabling better decision making in service to their communities. And I have been one of the councillors that's been involved in it, but council have done a lot of work internally in getting all that information, and then we have people coming externally to essentially audit us and tell us what we're doing well and the areas that we've got room for improvement. So that will give us some really good benchmarking after that.
When do you anticipate that will be?
The assessors are coming in August, and Amelia has got a lot to do with it. And so I think probably sometime later this year it will be public.
After they've at the end of August, we'll go away and finalise the review, and then once they've done that, they will send it to us, and we'll have a period of things back and forth. But I think there's fewer chances to discuss what we recommend and go back with the when we disagree with. So there's probably a month or so at least after that end of August process that will be undertaken. So the finalisation of the report may be sometime in October.
Probably November-ish sort of thing now. Right. Yeah. I've attended quite a few local water done well meetings, which I will talk about in a minute. 25th of June, we had a council meeting, and we did have a discussion regarding the 50K for a master plan, and the councillors noted that there was a community plan that was already underway, and we felt like it would be better that we considered what the strategy was that came out of the community plan, and also just because it's so close to election time as well, that we wouldn't actually get through that process before the election, and it gives the next board the opportunity to decide what to do with a clear vision from the community plan. And I think in the meantime, there's still, Rebecca, when does the community plan close? Today, this weekend, yeah, so you've still got an opportunity to feed into that if you've got anything that you want to feed into that, and there will be workshops coming up, and Rebecca will give you an update on that.
The master plan thing that we agreed on, that
Yep.
was then sort of knocked back. I mean, I see on one of the reports that it's all closed now. I mean, I would prefer to see that it's, waiting for the next stage of the community plan rather than just cut off at the knees.
You'll have the chance to talk about that in your next community board, if that's a priority of the next community board, because the community plan is going to take quite a bit of time to work through, and then you have a really clear idea of what the vision is of the community. And also decide if it's still necessary. Like, you might decide that it's not, or you might decide that it is. So you'll have some guidance there.
Do you feel that the board communicated the master plan's purpose well enough?
I think that was part of the problem, was there wasn't really a clear outcome of what you wanted in it as well, and I think that's what, and I think that's what the councillors thought as well, that there wasn't a lot of flesh in actually what you wanted. It was kind of like, let's do this, let's put this together, but there wasn't a lot of detail in actually what you wanted, and I think that was part of it as well. And I think just the timing of everything, like I said, coming to the end of our election cycle, not probably getting that master plan done, and a community plan also being out for consultation.
And I think, if I may, Mr. Chair, the spatial plan was only just concluded, and that guide for future development, the community plan was coming. It felt, I think the council's probably on the view that actually that's with the spatial plan and the community plan, that's going to give a great insight as to the lay down and what the community expect and what the spatial plan has already solved. But is there really a need for a master plan? Because if the spatial plan didn't identify the growth areas and all that sort of stuff, and where growth is possible, where growth is not possible, because it has it, so on and so on.
The purpose of the master plan, when I first saw an example of it, presented a one-pager and it was a map. It was a roadmap for the community to look at, and it had inputs from the spatial plans, inputs from the community plans, input from the communities, different organisations that wanted to. It gave them the opportunity to look at one page and go, oh, this is what it's all going to look like. At the moment, we're fragmented. We've got, and sorry, I'm just answering Peter, just while we're talking about what's coming up in the new year, I think that it's still worth pursuing the master plan, so it shouldn't be shut off.
And we also, sorry, Dylan?
I was just going to say, the closing off is really more of a procedural thing to government. So the matter's not dead, it's just in the papers, it's closed off that particular topic, but it will come back to the board, should the new board want it. Yeah, so it's not a dead in the water, it's not going to happen. The next implementation was let the community plan run its course, have a chat with the new board in the new year, and then bring it back to council with the new ones also support the
Sorry, Sue.
Okay, so we also currently have speed limits out for consultation, but there is nothing to note in the Teviot Valley. Regional deals have progressed to the negotiation phase, and so we will just wait and see where that heads to. And I think the key thing is that we are just in discussion, and that nothing has been decided and nothing will be decided for quite a long time. So we just really have a seat in the room to talk with all parties. But it will be a while before we know if we have a deal or not, or what that deal might look like. On the 30th of June, we had an additional meeting to adopt the long-term plan. 10th of July, we had deliberations on local water done well. And it was discussed that the regulation and the financial implications were the most significant driver, and that the ratepayers of the combined councils would be better off from the formation of a joint CCO than if services remained in-house. And I did sit in on a Waitaki workshop the other day, which was 2 hours and 22 minutes. And I can tell you that there is not going to be a lot of options for councils going forward with in-house models if their numbers don't stack up. So it has to be a viable thing, and our numbers, didn't look like they're going to stack up. And a single CCO was the most expensive option. So we believe that the combined council CCO was the best option. And that's it from me.
Thank you. Bill?
The only thing I've attended is the Roxburgh Medical Trust, and of course, now that they're not really allowed to burn coal, or coal has been outlawed as such, they have been a huge money now to move to heat pumps, and part of that expenditure is going to be $50,000 on road stoppage to dig a trench across the main road from one side of the road to the transformer. And that is a horrific cost for a small town medical centre, which once again is taking another blow and could be at risk with the lack of loss of funding, state and funding. So we had a meeting about that on Saturday morning.
Traffic management.
Traffic management, $50,000 for traffic management to dig a cable trench.
But that's compliance.
Ludicrous.
That highway.
Ludicrous. It's theft. And it shouldn't be that expensive. So, yeah, and we've got this meeting Saturday morning to find out what we can do to possibly help save our much needed medical centre. That's it.
Yes?
Yeah, cool. Attended the local Lions Club run a feed competition. So they go around and measure winter feed crops for farmers, and then have a prize giving night. And they raise actually a lot of money that goes towards community causes. So this year they raised $10,000, and they'll decide where that goes. But it's a great night. It's driven by a couple of ex-farmers in their 80s. So it's good to see. It's a good community event, and it gives back to the community. Following on from that, PGE Wrightons also run a Cash for Communities fund, where fertiliser purchases through the local stores. You can nominate, a local store nominate a local cause or community project to receive the funding, and so they reached out and have decided that all fertiliser purchases that qualify for the promotion will a portion of that will be donated to the Sports and Rec Hub in Miller's Flat, which is good. Attended the rural chapters information evening that Anne and her team hosted, and just brought to their attention the issue that wilding pines are creating in some significant natural areas towards Lake Onslow. So the pine trees in that area are nearing 25 years old, some of the oldest ones 30, and for the last 7 or 8 years they've been seeding the surrounding country, and you don't notice it at first, but eventually it pops up and then it takes off. So it will be I've drawn it to Anne's and her team's attention that there's an issue that really needs attention in the development or revision of the rural chapters of the district plan. Also the 2 hectare lot size on subdivisions. You see a lot of subdivisions and people want a bit of land, but they don't want 2 hectares. And then it leads to mismanagement of land, particularly with pests and noxious weeds, rabbits. So I think for our area, Central Otago as a whole, I think that is something that really needs addressed, because people can't look after half a hectare, let alone 2 hectares. And you just see these landscapes being ruined because people don't look after them. And I mean, take care of rabbits, and if they have a few animals, they don't necessarily, some people don't necessarily look after the animals either. So hopefully that gets addressed. Been dealing with not that too much, but just receiving the steering group nominations for the recip and just keeping everybody in the loop, given that that process started. I think we opened applications 5th of June, so just keeping everyone up to date on when our decision would be made. So, and everyone was, after that, and just also informing those that had applied around where the project itself was at. So there's definitely a lot of interest in the community about the timeline, and I think I'm just wondering as a community board if we, in our best interest, to perhaps do an update on the bulletin so everyone's aware of where the project is after we hear from David and his team today around insurance, because people are starting to wonder why there's nothing happening, even though there is stuff happening, but physically, they see an empty lot, they ask questions. And then attended the council meeting here in Roxbury yesterday, which was good to see the team come down. Pretty common theme for this district, given probably been on the thick end of rate rises due to a number of things, distributisation and so on and so forth. But I thought Mark spoke well with his pleasers for what this community's, what are the core concerns and focuses of this community going forward. We're probably at the, careful how I use this, lower socio-economic end of the district. So rate rises are front and centre for a lot of people. And I appreciate that there is simply costs that you can't control, and it is only going in one direction. But I think Mark spoke well to our concerns and also our wishes going forward with the recent rebuild.
Mark.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. A few things I've been up to lately. I went to a long-term plan meeting. That was quite interesting to see how that progresses and see it all finished. I guess it'd be a real relief to a lot of council work to have it behind you. Unfortunately, another one will start in 2 years' time, won't it?
Starts now.
Starts now. Okay. I done some work on the community plan with Becca, which we can hear a bit more about. Roxburgh Entertainment Centre planning. Had a broad meeting with the mine people about their proposal for a quarry. They're wanting to start a quarry, which would be a great thing to have a whole lot of gravel close to hand. Make things a hell of a lot cheaper rather than having to ship it all in from way out of here. So they've lodged a consent, and it's so that's where that's at the moment. It's they didn't do that. Attended a couple of Middle Flat coffee morning meetings, and then some meetings about the Middle Flat domain, the Sports and Rec Centre upgrade. Had a Teviot Prospects meeting, and one of the things they're going to be doing is another garden tour in the near future in end of October, I believe, and we'll be running that. And we'll be integrally involved in the community plan as well. Got had a museum meeting. There's been a very, very, very broad grass shoots meeting. Had a bit of a chat, not a meeting, but some chats with some people about maybe setting up something like a Teviot Valley Foundation, which is a sort of a very long-standing plan will take a long time to put together. But the idea is that there's a Teviot, could be a Teviot Valley Foundation that accumulates funds from various sources that can then get used for various community avenues, exercises and demands. And so there's just some green shoots of discussion about that. It will give somewhere where maybe some people could bequeath some money to, and create a community fund that can get used for community purposes. So just let you know, anybody's got any ideas about wanting to, get in behind that and support that. It's still hugely early days, but a Teviot Valley Foundation. Similar thing, I've got an Ida McDonald meeting tomorrow, and there's it's next week, I think. And that fund, the Ida McDonald Fund, that request for that opens soon, and they'll close within a month or so. So that's that community fund, and there's a suggestion on the table that to smooth things out, the Ida McDonald and the McPhail funds should potentially join in that. Yeah.
Because they fund similar funds, don't they?
That's right. But there's some overlap.
Similar activities.
Some overlap in terms of the recipient user base and in terms of the administration for the funds and, secretarial costs and all that sort of stuff. So that discussion's yet to happen, but it's, that's next week, I think. We got also let you know, got 7-a-side tournament this Saturday, which is it's about 500 netballers and about 1,200 rugby players or more, probably more than that, 1,500 rugby players, and there will be, so that's 1,700. Might be the odd parent there as well. So yes, there might be as many parents as there are participants, so you could see over 3,000 people there this weekend. And hopefully this time next year, the netball and a few other activities will be able to happen on the newly upgraded domain. Went to council meeting yesterday. Had 5 weeks in Noosa, and I got reaffirmed, ordained, whatever the word is, as a JP on Friday at the port. So I'm now a JP. If you want something signed, come see me. And I submitted my application to restand for the community board yesterday.
Thank you. You want me to move that? Those reports be accepted?
So one question I've got is the spatial plan.
Oh.
Is there any chance of any update on the spatial plan?
Well, the spatial plan is, as you said, it's loaded into our website. So that's locked and loaded.
I had questions about that spatial plan that I've never had a reply to.
And what's that?
And that is a property down at Miller's Flat that has been classified as flood zone, and it's not, and it is now affecting its business.
Right. And look, and that's the problem. Hazards are outside our requirement as a council. That sits with the ORC to identify hazards. They, and all councils, whether we like it or not, have to have a hazard register that people can go to see a hazard.
But it's not a hazard, and that's the problem. And
that is the problem.
I did bring that up quite some time ago, and I was told that I would get back. Would get back to me. And I've heard nothing about it, but this is directly affecting.
I know ORC do review their hazard map, because they have made some amendments to properties that were in the flood zone on the Manahirakia River, Mata'o confluence, and they have amended their hazard plan. So they do that, but they don't do it. They do it at regular intervals, i.e. 2, 3, 4 year time. They recast, they bring in more data. So I can't say when they're going to redo that flood mapping, but they do go through a review at regular time.
So is it up to us as individuals to make a submission to them, Peter?
Homeowners do write to council, and homeowners do write to the regional council, who are responsible for hazard mapping in the floodplains. But they do this as a regular.
So they need a body of evidence of 17 people.
They need a lot of evidence. And it's not just that I've lived here for the last 100 years and it's not flooded. They have to, so that's the challenge. So it can be reviewed. I don't know the timeframe in which it can be reviewed.
Cool.
As I understand it, ORC are looking at all those hazards in their mapping of them, because the information that they have is very generic. And they are doing more work on them to make them more accurate, is probably what the.
So Pete, my question about this, the spatial plan was, when is it going to get incorporated into the district plan? Please, could you give some? I know Anne was going to be working on it in July.
Well, I mean, I think and look, I am not a planner and look around the room. There is no planner here as well. I mean, there's a hierarchy of documents, and with district plans, spatial plans, master plans, they all sit within and they're all nested. The spatial plan actually might, so the spatial plan now, for all intents and purposes, is guiding where future growth can go in this district and where it can't go. So the areas that have been identified as hazards within that growth plan of the spatial plan, I was just looking at it, it's reasonably clear.
Yeah.
And that's provided for growth over the next 30 years. So in a way, that's in train. That's
right. Does it not have to get included in something equivalent to Plan Change 19?
No, because the spatial plan has looked at, like at the moment, we said we were about to start, we've done the consultation, not consultation, we've done discussions with the community on the rural chapter. And so that's part of the next body of work to update the district plan.
Yeah.
But I think the spatial plan, and do not quote me on this, but in terms of the hierarchy, it sort of spans across chapters and all that sort of stuff, because it talks about where growth will be, where growth will be. It looks at the rural area and all that sort of stuff. But the district plan itself, the chapters are the detail.
So stuff that is in the spatial plan can happen within the confines of the district plan, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
But not all of the Plan Change 19 is operative.
No,
The spatial plan, it doesn't make the district plan, it can't.
yeah, not all Plan Change 19 has been, because it's still going through the mediation stage and it'll probably end up going to court. So it's and that talks about how we repurpose land on the periphery of the townships. That's subject to the rural chapter review as well, because, high class soils, blah, 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 all those sorts of things. So in a way, the spatial plan is there, it's done, and it will guide, and it's available for developers and others to see how the next 30 years should be laid down where growth can occur within this valley.
But it's my understanding that there was another step that is to get it incorporated into the district plan. And so until
we'll check with the team. And remembering the RMA is doing away with district plans, and you'll end up with a regional plan. And that's the change in the RMA that's going.
Just if you stop work.
So the minister was quite clear last week. He said if you have not gone to the hearing stage on any changes, stop. Because the changes in the RMA reform are going to be so significant that they actually might, you might get ahead of yourselves. So we're okay. Private plan changes can still continue. He was quite clear on that. And so we've still got a private plan change, but where we are in the scheme of things, we can continue with resolving Plan Change 19. We weren't at the stage, we were only doing the background work for the rural chapter review. So, we hadn't advanced to the stage that was going to cause us much in the way of dilemma. So now we are waiting to see what the government comes out with. But at the moment, the spatial plan is, for all intents and purposes, is the guiding document for this region, for this district, this town, valley, on how it should be laid down and going forward. Cool.
Yeah.
But we can get a more scientific and accurate answer from Anne. If you just make a note for that. And she'll absolutely contradict everything I just said. But that's okay.
She probably knows.
So I move that we accept those members' reports. Can I just second this, please?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All those in favour say aye. All those against say no. Carried. Right. Right.
That's great.
Governance report.
Governance report. Update on the independent centre insurance, Gary?
$10 million And David.
Wow.
And David. Don't forget David and Amelia.
So Amelia's actually got all the guts on what's actually going on. So we'll let her start and we can fill in some gaps.
Well, you know, so Gary's taking the wind out of my sails. We've got a workshop at the end of this meeting, which goes it shows. So in terms of the entertainment centre, obviously we had 2 fires. So the first fire, that claim has been completely wrapped up now. So we've received all the payout for the original claim, which does include, because the fires were so close together and work hadn't been undertaken to remediate the damage from the first fire, what happens is the quotes that we had received from Breeze to remediate that original fire, we actually get that paid out through the insurance for that quote amount, and that gets taken off the second claim. So we have received that now, and that money is sat in a nice little bank account, waiting to be used. So the next claim has been accepted by the insurer, and the insurer instructed the loss adjuster to instruct a quantity surveyor to complete the QS based on what the building footprint was previously. And that has been done. So that is a very high level QS document that has been produced. That has been reviewed by our property team, and they came up with a number of queries. Those have been sent back. It's been quite a slow process, and we did chase earlier this week in the hope that we would have some answers for today about the queries and what we're at with those. But we've not received a response as yet. But we'll continue that chasing and make a few phone calls, and hopefully we will receive those answers. And once we've got that back, the next step will be for us to instruct an independent QS to take place so that we can compare those 2 documents. And we will be working with Aon to make sure that we get the best from that claim. So those are the next steps. And once we've had that number confirmed, what's likely to happen is we will get a lump sum indemnity payout. So the indemnity value is around $3 million. So that will be the first step, and then the rest of the money, so up to the sum that is agreed, the full payout for replacement, will enter into a discussion as to whether that is a secondary lump sum or we work that through based on construction and those receiving invoices and requesting reimbursement for those.
So you're saying that, sorry, so you're saying that we've agreed to the lower level indemnity payout?
No, that's just standard payment.
Yeah. So yes, just to, we're at the insurance process, there's a lot of insurers will do this. They'll run, 1,000 square metre building through a standard calculator, and it spits out a number, and they come to you and say, what do you think of this number? And that's where our team have gone back to them going, it's a 19, the age of the building, these are the types of features that were in the building. Have you considered all these things? So I guess that's the queries that we've gone back to the insurance company. They consider that for us. And then we'll come back with a revised figure is our hope, based on, I guess, the queries that we've put in. And then just to reiterate what Amelia was saying, it's good sort of business prudence to have this done independently yourself, just to make sure that the 2 types of methodologies, come to a good outcome for the community. So
We wouldn't go down that road if they end up going, oh, here's full part of what we should. Then we just accept that and move on. But if we disagree with them now that they're offering, that's when we'll go with the QS.
Right.
What's the ceiling? Is there a ceiling?
6.3 million.
There's no chance of getting any more than that.
No.
it's some truth. Yeah.
How much chance is there of getting a lot less of that?
There's always a chance. That's why we would engage, independent views.
Yeah.
So we get maximum bang for buck.
Yeah.
And I mean, if, like Amelia says, they'll pay us out indemnity, if they decide they're gonna pay us out staged payments through construction, so be it. When we get to the end of construction, if there's still money left over, then we'll default back to the insurance. And if there's no money left over,
So in terms of a timeline, well, it's, everyone's a piece of string, I suppose, but
so we are doing multiple follow-ups in kudos to Amelia here, she's really working quite very well.
yeah.
This just has to run its course. But in the meantime, because we're getting indemnity payout, we formed a steering group. In actually give, so we've got money.
This was just, that was my next question, is that now we've sort of got the structure in place and the people populated in it.
Yeah.
We've got the ability to, I guess, respond before the answer gets, full answer.
Yeah. And I guess the positive is that the claim has been accepted.
Yes. Oh, exactly, yeah.
Yeah. And it's just good timing now, the steering group and things like that, so we can keep working out, and guess to the timeline we were hoping toward.
So in terms of communicating with the community about the outcomes of today.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to take responsibility for that, or do you want the board to?
We can probably do it in tandem, given we've got the steering group and I guess, operationally the insurance as well. So we do the two together, out nice and, sort of nice and publicly. And then I guess one of the other things that we've done with other boards is when these occur every 6 weeks, we'll just give a governance update here on how this is progressing, just so it's nice and regular and has a bit of a heartbeat. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll do that.
Yeah.
For next week.
Do you you could leave this with, we're public now. Hello, everybody. We leave that with me and I'll get our contact to do something up and we'll try and get something out for everyone tomorrow. Sound good?
Yeah.
I think people will be really grateful for, because the going.
Yeah. It is, yeah.
Anyone got any questions? Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey there, you're up.
And what is it? Oh, the mic. Okay, so we talked to this. Okay, so the council land is the unformed paper roads.
Yeah.
That's roads that districtised back in 2022. Community board and the council in agreeing to those roads being used, thus part of Hawkswood, also agreed to for any proceeds to go towards the roading. Let me get the exact term of that. Roading fund, roading emergency fund. I just had the, because I actually sent it to an email to myself with the exact wording. Just check the rate. Anyway, so that was done in 2022. So a resolution was made for that specific purpose. Then actually earlier this year, another resolution was made, and off the top of my head, it was like 160 bucks, 160,000, and maybe 150,000, if I can just find the email. And it was allocated specifically on an annual basis to the roading emergency fund and the roading fund.
Is that the 165?
165 and 120 it was, Pat.
Yeah. And so that was passed by a resolution of council. And so and then that money is distributed, it sits within the emergency fund. So it's best, and I use Miller's Flat as an example, those rain events earlier on this year, where there was a cleanup required, that sort of funding would come out of the emergency fund. Probably when you had the big slips and the rockfall that came down through that weather event a few years ago and came across the state highway network, us in combination with the NZTA, that's where we would dip into those sorts of funds to, remediate the damage done around the road network.
Well, it's district wide rather than Teviot Valley.
It's district wide rather than, everything's district wide now. So everything is district wide.
Mm.
I think
I
it's-
can't understand the consequences of district wide.
People don't.
Yeah. So,
I guess, so in 2022, was that resolution to go into the CODC roading fund, or was it to go into the TVC, Teviot Valley roading?
With the CODC.
Roads were districtised.
Yeah.
Remember roads districtised?
Long time ago.
Yeah, that's right.
2015.
Yeah.
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 So all of the, so the money over the 10-year project that is coming from Hawkwood, none of it is going to come, is going to be earmarked specifically for here or, you know, so say next year you take out, so it's 280 this year, say it's 320 next year because it's dependent on the goal. Can over, what's over and above the 280 that you take out, can that come back to the district? You know, it's.
Well, at the moment,
Yeah,
that resolution was per annum and, but that money could well come back to the district because the next roading emergency could be in the district. I mean, it's here in the emergency roading fund, a chunk of it for that purpose.
But
Now,
if
where
you
that,
take, if you take your 280 out, I mean, that keeps you topping up your districtised roading thing. But, you know, like I said to you yesterday, what we're trying to do is get a bit of money to come back to the district to do the unsexy work.
Yeah.
You know, of just some really good basic maintenance that we.
but a lot of money comes to the district. A lot of money goes throughout the district to fund all the activities that council does now under districtisation. So it's, all I would say is that people in Maniatoto are paying for work that's done down here. So everyone in the district is getting the benefit of funding being spent throughout the district. All activities on the LTP that are happening in the Teviot Valley are being funded through district-wide rates. Everyone is paying for it.
That's true, but you know, like this valley has been neglected for a long time. There's still stuff that just needs to get done, and we don't seem to be able to get it done. So if we got a bit of a surplus from the mining royalties to get done what we need to done, then we can put the surplus into Maniatoto. We don't have to keep everything for ourselves or all for ourselves, but just a cut of it to come back to the district.
Yeah,
You know,
I would say in light of the digitisation, there are no longer award funds. You can rate for community grants and that sort of stuff. So and we had sort of a discussion, Paul touched on it. I doubt, but the new council, you can test this with the new council, but the whole reason they went to digitisation was so that there was, from a funding perspective, there was a quality to the funding, so that a swimming pool in Roxburgh, a swimming pool in Maniatoto shouldn't cost those ratepayers any more or any less. They should be trying to get the same level of service for the same rate. Whereas what was happening was this community was being rated differently to other communities, and other communities have been rated differently to other communities. So there was, in some ways, you could say it wasn't fair and equitable because you might have been paying more for parks than what Alex was paying for parks. Yet you want the same level of service.
I mean, the other thing is there is other money in the district that will also go into a district-wide fund now. So like land sales, that's on council land, not endowment land, and other mines that are within the district. There's other opportunities that will come up where different money will go into a district pot that we also will have the
But
opportunity.
if you look at something like Santana, so you've got the big Santana mine, and as I understand it, it's 14 kilometres of council-owned land that it's going to be going over, and the royalties from that could possibly stop everybody else getting rated for the community hall that's going up at Cromwell. So it takes away the opportunity for a district to be able to have some funds coming in to do what they need to do.
Yeah, and you're quite right. So there is an ongoing discussion with Santana around access to council community roads, because there's 2 roads that run through that area, Hoffman's Gorge and Shepherd's Paper Road. And so that is an ongoing discussion. Any proceeds that come from that would also go into the wider district funding, whether it's under the roading portfolio. As an example, we know that we haven't funded to 100% the bridging strategy, and we know it's going to cost us 20 million over the next few years. Potentially some of that money would go to, and we all have bridges in our respective wards, and that we reap the benefit of that sort of thing. So there's, I mean, at the end of the day, and then it'll be up to the respective boards as we work through the next LTP in 2027, 2037, and that work's going to have to start towards the latter part of this year with the new council forming at the end of this year, beginning of next year. What are the investments that the boards would like to see? And I think this needs to be well thought out, because there's no point having funds that just sits in a slush account that you can use as you need, because then that makes for, I think, bad decision making. These things need to be well thought out and prioritised, and you know, the need in Maniatopa, the need in Teviot, the need in Cromwell, so on and so on. All those have to be assessed against each other, and then wherever the priorities are Teviot, and that flows through, then the funding would naturally flow to them. Yeah.
So we, you know, I understand it all. I mean, it's just a bad taste in the mouth that, you know, that it all happens here and it's disruption to us and the money goes into a big pot. And that's a new thing for us to understand and become comfortable with. And, you know, you need to be able to see the bigger picture to appreciate that's why it's happening, which, you know, I do, but I also have sympathy with the other people that say, well, no, where's our cut? Where's our, you know, for our disruption? It would make it a lot easier, Jill, if we actually had a project that we said, why can't some of that money go to project ABC?
Yes, I understand, and I said that yesterday at that meeting. But you know, when you look at a place like Cromwell, which is expanding hugely, so the rates take there is going to be much, much bigger than here. Teviot's not expanding, but we're shrinking probably a little bit. You know, so there's less coming out of this valley, and there's an opportunity over 10 years to bring back a little one. Like I said, I'm not asking for all of it, don't want the whole lot, but if we can get the park channeled, if we can bloody get Kelso Street fixed, those just sort of
But those responsibilities are the responsibility of council. And the curb and challenge, Kelso Street and that sort of stuff, and the park and the toilet. Those things should be addressed as a matter of urgency or a matter of priority.
We've actually got to separate the two. Like, we've got to go, hey, these are look crap and people want it fixed, and then council's got to fix it. Where the money comes from doesn't matter, because the money's there. It's not our money to use for that. It's just council obligation to fix these things, and council has the funds.
but there's been no will to fix any of them.
Well, yeah.
You know, and that's the problem. So when as a ward councillor, when you're around the table, you are one voice, and if the others decide to go against it, you've lost it. And there has been no will on council's part at all to get these problems seen.
But
and
I hear you.
Maybe it could be a community-driven thing that you know we just get a little bit of the stuff done. It doesn't need to be all done at once. It can be a year-on-year thing.
I hear you, but what I'm saying is try and ring fence money from this valley for those things that ship sailed long ago, and we just got to fight the cause to get these things sorted, and council will pay for it. Should pay for it.
We were told during the district discussions that the strength of the board and the way that they are able to sell the projects is going to be paramount. You know, how we can justify.
We're going to say their priorities. Where do we go from here?
These things.
And look, I just say on the curve and channeling.
As some of us want to pay.
We asked for quite a chunk of change, because that's funded 51% by NZTA.
Yeah.
And what we asked for, we didn't get anything close to what we asked for.
We've discussed this before.
So we have, which would have helped address a lot of the curb and challenge response across the whole district. We didn't get what we asked for, so we had to narrow what we can do within the bounds of what we got.
So the question is, how do we raise Teviot Valley as the Teviot Valley projects to get them to the top of the CODC list. You know, but
Well, again, through this mechanism, but equally too, the roading team are out regularly doing assessments of the roading network up and down the district. And so, QP's not here at the moment, but he'll have a list, but he knows where the curb and channeling has to be updated and all that sort of stuff. And he's probably done that in a reasonable sort of priority of assessment of need. And that we are slowly working our way through that within the limited funds we've got. So in the first instance, I would be checking in with QP and that sort of stuff, saying, where is Kelso Street on the order, when can we expect that work? And we can follow up on that with the roading team. But if it is.
We need to establish if it's even on this radar.
Yeah, but the team go around to do condition assessments of all our assets in a regular timeframe. And then they hold that data, and then that's used to inform where the renewals need to go. Where do we need? And that's the stuff.
Last year we put a request to have updates on projects that were on the radar.
Yeah, QP's been here.
Yeah, and that was fantastic.
Yeah.
We've got the lowdown on the bridges, we've got the lowdown on what was happening up in. And they were good.
Yeah, I mean.
But what we're struggling with at the moment is that we could start banging on about Kingswood Park for 3 to 5 years now.
That just sits where that sits in the priority and the need.
And
what specifically that can do?
we want the curb and channeling out the front to 5 years.
I understand where the trucks are not going to just chew away at the asphalt and leave a heap of standing water.
Yeah, because I think
It's a mess.
state highway as well.
And it's subject to the NZTA involvement.
And I'm pretty sure there was no money that could.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying, if we've managed to get a little bit of money from that mine, we could say to them, this comes from the district, we've got it here, let's get it started, and then it doesn't cost the council anything, it doesn't cost NZTA, who has had no desire to do anything about it, ever. And if we got. Put through it that way. It's amazing what we experience as well.
We plan for service requests here, so I did say that I just, you mentioned Kelso Street, and so service requests, it's something I do look at sort of on a monthly basis. There are things in here for Kelso Street, but not for what you're talking about. So, just noting that service requests are really important for us as well, and really good way to have things on the radar, and then we're able to see as well as management going, okay, what's open, what's not, and just making sure it is in the priorities as well. So just a little community plug for service requests.
And you're exactly right, David.
Yes, depending on where they are. Yeah. So good place to start.
Well, we need to look at status updates. Is that a number? One.
We've got Rebecca.
And then we've got Rebecca, and then we'll move for 4. I think we're probably ready for Rebecca.
Thanks, Ross.
I have a Teviot Valley green box that I left in Saskia's office on the way. But luckily I've remembered everything. So it's pretty exciting. Earlier this week, we had 38 people respond to the Let's Talk online. And then yesterday I went around and collected hard copy surveys, which there was another 10 of, and I entered them all yesterday. And it's such a delight to hear people's love of the valley and what they see for the future. And I've just got another one. So here's an example. So health services, we can't afford to lose. A community that looks after its own on most occasions, pretty full range of services, i.e. supermarket, school, educare, rest homes. That's what they love. And then what would they like to see? Venue for Roxburgh events, i.e. weddings, non-religious funerals, 21sts. What's the one thing you'd like the Teviot Valley to be known for? Market the location of Central Otago on a budget, a traveller's stop. And so that's from a 60 to 69-year-old male farmer in the area, And so with the 10 I did yesterday, I had people in their 30s to people over 80s that I was entering their love of the valley and what they'd like to see in the future. So it is such an awesome project. So I think we're going to crack 50. I've been to the parents and play group. I've been to the, I wasn't allowed to go crash the women's dinner Christmas night last night. But I am going to the friendship group on Friday. Which is here, I think. I've been to the arts and craft group. I've been to the Miller's Fat Coffee group. Been all over. It's been fantastic. And I just, pardon?
The vegetarians.
I've been there several. I went there yesterday and picked up the ones in the box there. And so it's just been, thank you to the board who's been getting it out there and encouraging people to participate. And it's so good to remind people that this isn't council. It's a community-led process that we really keen to hear. So that's all going really well. It was fascinating. Curtis, you were talking. So we spent ages picking this picture, which I took at the top of the
Mount Teviot.
On the top, I got my husband to take me out to, what do you call it?
Mount Teviot.
No.
Lake Onslow.
Yeah, Lake Onslow. Because I've never been and there's so much talk about it. I said, take me out. So I took this, I said, stop, I've got to take this photo, stop it. And one of the submissions I typed in yesterday was about this forest. I thought there's nothing in this photo. It's a beautiful picture of the valley, but there's a forestry plot. I never even saw this. It didn't register.
It's wild, even worse is Wilding Pine View.
I took this December 23 that I took this photo, and apparently now it looks a little bit different than this. And I was like, oh man, you didn't know.
Have you been up there, ladies?
I haven't been since December 23 is when I went. Anyway. It's a side point. So workshops. Yesterday I finished booking the course. So we've got workshops will be held on the 28th of August. So there'll be a 12 noon one at Miller's Flat. There'll be a 4 p.m. one at Ettrick and a 7 p.m. one in the hall here.
Could you run that by me?
So it's 12 noon at Miller's Flat. 4 p.m. at Ettrick Hall. And 7 p.m. here in Roxburgh. And so that'll be me and the other Rebecca facilitating. We've got all these cool ideas. Are there any more that we haven't heard of? What do we do about it? And that's where the magic comes. And then we talk about where the energy is to do some collective action. So those are getting locked in. We've roped in our cadet Cohen, who's going to help us with that process, so that'll be quite fun. Got a session at the Roxburgh Area School on the Monday the 26th of August to talk with the kids there about their vision for the future. So that'll be kind of cool as well. Well, not kind of cool, it will be cool. And that is, I think, all I've got to say about the community plan. Any questions?
Cool, that giving you so much feedback.
It's like, I think I've broken the record for surveys responses in the valley.
Give it about.
But I'm very.
And I just want to say, I think we're really lucky that we've got Rebecca doing this community plan. She did the one in Terrace with the other Rebecca, and they produced something really amazing. And I think that Rebecca's going to produce something really cool for us. So thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you. The other Rebecca wasn't allowed to participate in the Terrace one because she's from Terrace. And so we were a bit lost without her, but we managed to get through. So we're so pleased to have her back on board for the Teviot.
Yeah, and she, the other Rebecca's also really keen on the Teviot as well.
Well, her work also was with the airport, and so the airport was quite a big part of what's going down in Terrace at the moment. And so it was just best that we didn't use her to do that. Yeah.
It's
but it's awesome. Yeah, and it's awesome to have her back. So it's exciting times.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rebecca.
So we've got the status reports as part of this governance report. We'll just take it that you've been through them and we'll just report on them by discuss them by etc. I personally have nothing to query or add or
I see it's close, but did we decide, the design or what was going to be on those flags?
Yeah.
We did have. Yeah, it was confirmed, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
That was last paper.
Was that at the meat breakfast meeting?
What's that, sorry?
The design of the flags going up the streets. Yeah.
I'm still done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're being printed.
At the breakfast,
Yeah.
the business breakfast meeting.
Right, okay. So I just will move that we'll receive that status report and the governance reports. I can have a seconder, please.
Sally.
Yeah, okay. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against say no. Carry. And that's, the next date of the next meeting is Thursday, September 11.
One. Training.
Hmm?
The last meeting for the training.
Insurance equipment, that's happened.
Yeah, we're going to work. No.
So I can close the meeting now, yeah?
Close the meeting.
Yeah. I'll declare the meeting closed.
Perfect.
Cool.
So,
Right.
and we need photographs. I just thought going on. We're going to have a board photograph. We've got Morgan here. Don't we, Morgan? See.